Close your eyes now, darling. Let the soft autumn wind brush against your cheek like the gentlest fingertips you've ever known, carrying the faint scent of fallen maple leaves and distant chimney smoke. Somewhere far away, a single wooden wind chime sways, clink, clink, clink so slowly that every note feels like it's being cradled in warm hands before it reaches your ears. You're safe here, wrapped in the quietest corner of the night, where the only light comes from a small amber lamp on an old oak table, its glow pooling like honey across the pages of a well-loved book that's waiting just for you. Tonight, I'm going to whisper you the entire story of a boy named Will Hunting, every secret, every tear, every triumphant heartbeat, because sometimes the most healing thing in the world is to hear a difficult journey told so softly that it feels like someone is tucking your own heart back into place. Breathe in slowly, hold it, and let the air leave your lips like a sigh you didn't know you were keeping. Good. Again, this story is long. And that's perfect, because sleep loves long stories told in the lowest possible voice, the kind that makes your shoulders loosen without you even noticing. You might already know the film, or you might be meeting Will for the first time tonight. Either way, nothing will be hidden from you. Every raw moment, every "it's not your fault," every kiss in the rain, every mile he drives west at the end, I will lay them all across this quiet room like the softest blanket. And while I speak, the wind outside will keep stroking the window pane, sometimes joined by the faintest drizzle, because Boston itself seems to cry and smile in the same breath in this tale. Did you know that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote the first draft when they were barely 22, broke, sharing a tiny apartment in Los Angeles, and they almost sold the script for $1 single just to keep the lights on? Harvey Weinstein ended up paying far more, but the legend goes that they had a clause ready. If anyone ever offered only $1, they'd take it, because sometimes believing in a story is worth more than money. Just like Stephen King once sold the paperback rights to Carrie for $1 so a tiny publisher could take a chance on him. Funny how the greatest stories about breaking free often begin when their creators feel most trapped. Let your head sink a little deeper into the pillow now. Feel the cool cotton against the back of your neck, the way it cradles you exactly where you need it. Have you ever met someone so brilliant that it scared you a little? Someone whose mind moves so fast you felt you were always running just to stand still beside them? Or perhaps you've been that person, hiding lightning inside a body that felt too small for it. Will Hunting is both the genius and the one who's terrified of him. He grew up in South Boston, in foster homes that smelled of stale beer and cigarette smoke burned into the walls, places where love came with fists and silence came with shame. Yet inside that same boy lived a mind that could read a 400-page book in an hour and remember every word forever, a mind that saw mathematics the way poets see stars. And tonight we're going to walk every step with him, slowly, barefoot across cool hardwood floors, feeling every grain, every memory, every moment he chooses to stay or to finally leave. When you're ready, let your breath match mine. In for 4 heartbeats, out for 6. There's no rush. The night is wide and patient. Somewhere in the distance you can hear the soft creak of an old rocking chair, back and forth, like a grandfather you never met keeping watch while you drift. This story is about many things, but mostly it's about the quiet moment when someone sees all of your sharp edges and still says, very gently, "You're safe with me." It's about learning that being extraordinary doesn't mean you have to be alone, and it's about the bravest thing any of us ever do. deciding that tomorrow can be different from yesterday if we're willing to drive toward it without looking back. Are you comfortable? Good. Let the weight of the day slide off your arms, your chest, your thoughts. If a worry tries to sneak in, just notice it the way you'd notice a leaf floating past on a stream, and let the wind carry it away. Tonight belongs to Will, to Sean, to Skylar, to Chucky and the boys, and, most importantly, to you. Because every time Will chooses to open a door instead of building another wall, something inside you gets permission to do the same. That's the magic of bedtime stories. They're never just about someone else. So rest your mind now. The wind is turning the first page for us, very slowly, the paper so thin it almost sighs. In a moment, we'll step into the cold southeast streets, where a skinny kid with a black eye and a perfect memory is about to solve a math problem that grown professors have given up on. And everything will begin to change, one whispered equation at a time. But for now, just listen to the hush between heartbeats. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your own chest. You are exactly where you're meant to be. The wind outside shifts just slightly, carrying the smell of wet asphalt and distant ocean salt through the cracked window of a triple-decker in South Boston, 1997, late September. The kind of night that feels like the city itself is exhaling after holding its breath all summer. You can almost taste the cold metal of the chain-link fence as we drift closer, the faint rust flaking under invisible fingertips. Down on the street, a skinny 20-year-old in a gray hoodie and worn Red Sox cap leans against a lamppost, cigarette glowing orange every time he inhales. His name is Will Hunting. And right now he is watching his best friends, Chucky, Morgan, and Billy, trade lazy punches over who lost the last bet at the L Street Tavern. Their laughter is rough, warm, familiar, the kind that scrapes your throat but keeps you alive. Will smiles, but it doesn't quite reach his eyes. Those eyes have already read every book in the public library on Columbia Point, twice, and they are tired in a way that has nothing to do with sleep. We follow him inside the bar. The air is thick with spilled beer, fried food, and the low hum of a jukebox playing Van Morrison. The floor sticks slightly to the soles of his boots. Chucky slaps a $5 bill on the scarred wooden table and says the same thing he says every Thursday. Harvard pricks, 10 o'clock, be there or I'm drinking your share. Will just nods, already knowing he will go, already knowing he will pretend he doesn't care, already knowing he will destroy them without raising his voice. And he does. In the dim light of the Harvard Square bar later that night, surrounded by ponytails and trust funds, a smug graduate student named Clark tries to humiliate Chucky by quoting obscure historical sources. Will steps forward, voice barely above a whisper, and dismantles Clark's entire argument in under 2 minutes, citing the exact same books, page numbers included, then ends with the softest burn you've ever heard. How do you like 'em apples? The room goes quiet except for the clink of glasses and the sudden rush of blood in Clark's ears. Outside, Will lights another cigarette, exhales smoke into the cold, and walks away before anyone can thank him. That is who he is. Lightning that strikes and disappears. But lightning leaves marks. The very next day, Professor Gerald Lambeau, tall, silver-haired, impeccably dressed, stands in the marble hallway of MIT, staring at a blackboard covered in a proof that has stumped the entire mathematics department for 2 years. The chalk is still fresh. No one saw who wrote it. Lambeau's fingers tremble slightly as he traces the final line. He knows only a handful of people on Earth could have done this, and none of them are enrolled at the Institute. He posts a second, even harder problem, offers a cash prize, and waits. Weeks later, in the dead of night, a janitor's mop bucket rolls slowly across the floor. Will, wearing green custodian overalls and headphones, pauses, glances at the board, and in 10 silent minutes writes the complete solution in perfect, looping chalk handwriting. The next morning, Lambeau nearly drops his coffee. He tracks the janitor's schedule, finds Will, and the chase begins. Have you ever hidden something so bright inside you that you were afraid it would burn everyone you love? Or have you ever been so good at something that it felt like a curse instead of a gift? Will has. When Lambeau confronts him, Will runs. Literally runs. Sneakers slapping wet pavement, breath fogging in the autumn air. Until the police catch him for an outstanding assault charge from a street fight he never started but always finished. In the courtroom, the judge's gavel sounds like a closing door. Will faces years in prison. Lambeau makes an offer, freedom in exchange for 2 conditions. 1. Will must work on advanced mathematics with Lambeau every week. 2. He must attend therapy. Will smirks, because he has outsmarted every social worker, every foster parent, every system that ever tried to fix him. Therapy will be easy. He will make the therapist quit inside of 1 session, just like all the others. The first therapist is a hypnotist with a pocket watch and a voice like syrup. Will stares at the watch swinging back and forth, then calmly tells the man his wife is cheating on him with the pool boy and describes the exact birthmark on her left thigh. The man storms out. The second therapist tries cognitive behavioral techniques. Will recites the entire DSM-IV back to him and asks which personality disorder he would like to pretend Will has today. One by one they quit, until Lambeau, desperate, calls an old college roommate he hasn't spoken to in years. Sean McGuire, community college psychology professor, Southie born and raised, widowed 2 years ago when his wife Nancy died of cancer. Sean's office smells like old books, coffee, and the faint ghost of the clove cigarettes he gave up when she got sick. His desk is covered in Red Sox memorabilia and a single-framed photo of Nancy laughing on Revere Beach. When Lambeau asks for help, Sean's voice is gravel and exhaustion. "I'm not a miracle worker, Jerry," but he agrees to 1 session. The day Will walks into that office, the wind outside picks up, rattling the blinds like quiet bones. Sean is wearing a faded flannel shirt, sleeves rolled, forearms scarred from a childhood just as rough as Will's. Will sits, arms crossed, eyes daring Sean to begin. Sean doesn't. He just looks at Will for a long, long time. Then he says, very softly, "You're angry at the world, huh?" Will smirks. Sean leans forward, voice dropping to the whisper we are floating in right now, and says, "Time's up." Will blinks. That was 50 minutes of silence and 1 sentence. He leaves furious, but something inside him has already started to crack. Like thin ice on a pond in early spring. "Trivia," whispered gently. Robin Williams prepared for Sean by spending days at a Boston bereavement group, listening to widowers talk about their wives until he could cry on cue without acting. He said later that every tear you see on screen is real, borrowed from strangers who trusted him with their grief. Another soft breath for you now. Feel your toes relax, your ankles, your calves sinking deeper into the mattress. Have you ever met someone who saw straight through every defense you spent years building, and instead of using it against you, they simply held the broken pieces up to the light so you could finally see the pattern? That is what Sean is about to become for Will, and maybe, tonight, this story is becoming that for you. We are only just beginning. The real healing hasn't even started yet. The wind is turning another page, slow as a heartbeat. Will still believes he can outrun his past. He still believes love is a weakness and attachment is a trap. He still thinks the highest proof of intelligence is never needing anyone. But the autumn leaves are falling faster now, and somewhere inside him a small voice, no louder than this whisper, is asking, "What if you're wrong?" Rest easy. The hardest parts are coming, but they will be told so gently you will feel held the entire time, just like Will is about to be. Let the wind settle now into the gentlest rhythm, the kind that rocks an old wooden boat tied to a quiet dock, back and forth, while the water underneath makes the softest lapping sounds against the hull. We are moving deeper into autumn, into the heart of the story, where every color is turning gold and rust, and the air smells like wood smoke and the promise. Will is still fighting, still pushing everyone away with both hands, but the cracks in his armor are widening, and the light is starting to leak through. It begins on a gray Thursday afternoon at the community college. Sean's office window looks out over a small park where the last stubborn leaves cling to the branches. Will arrives late, deliberately, boots heavy on the creaking floorboards, and drops into the chair like he's daring the room to hold his weight. Sean doesn't speak at first. He simply slides a worn manila folder across the desk. Inside are Will's juvenile records. Every foster placement, every bruise documented in faded Polaroids, every court appearance, every psychiatric evaluation that ends with the same sentence. Highly intelligent, highly defensive, prognosis guarded. Will's jaw tightens. He has never seen the file before. Sean's voice is barely louder than the radiator hissing in the corner. You ever wonder why nobody's ever been able to help you? Will shrugs, the movement sharp. Sean leans back, eyes soft. Because nobody's ever read this out loud to you before. And then, so slowly it feels like mercy, Sean begins reading the worst parts aloud. The beatings, the cigarette burns, the nights locked in closets. The way Will once bit a foster father so hard the man needed stitches. With every sentence, Will's breathing grows shallower, his fingers digging into the arms of the chair until the wood groans. When Sean finishes, the silence is enormous. Sean closes the folder and says, almost inaudible, "It's not your fault." Will laughs, bitter, dismissive. Sean repeats it, softer. "It's not your fault." Will's voice cracks like thin ice. "Yeah, I know." Sean leans forward until their foreheads are almost touching and whispers again and again, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault." Until Will breaks. A soundless sob that shakes his whole body, tears falling onto the knees of his jeans like rain on pavement. Sean simply moves around the desk and holds him the way you would hold a child, waking from a nightmare. No words, just the steady pressure of arms that have nothing to prove. Trivia, whispered so gently it feels like a lullaby. Robin Williams improvised the entire "It's not your fault" sequence. The camera operator cried so hard he couldn't keep the shot steady. And Gus Van Sant kept the take anyway because the tremor felt honest. Let your own shoulders drop now, feel them drop another fraction, as if someone just lifted a backpack you didn't realize you were still wearing. Have you ever had a moment when someone finally named the pain you carried alone for years, and the naming itself felt like being forgiven? Or have you ever been the one brave enough to name it for someone else? Tonight, let that moment live in the space between heartbeats. Outside these sessions, Will keeps living the life he thinks protects him. He works construction with Chucky, Morgan, and Billy. The job site smells of sawdust and diesel, the cold biting through their Carhartt jackets. They eat lunch on overturned buckets, passing around a single thermos of coffee, joking about which one of them will still be swinging a hammer at 50. Chucky's dream is simple. He wants Will to get out. One afternoon, high on a half-built house frame with Boston spread below them like a worn quilt, Chucky says the line that will echo through the rest of the film. "Every day I come pick you up, and I hope you're gone. I hope you took whatever chance came your way and you're in some other city doing some job you actually like, with a girl who makes you happy. You're the best thing I love most in the world, and I don't want you here." Will stares at him, stunned. Chucky shrugs, embarrassed, and climbs back down the ladder. The wind up there is fierce. It whips Will's hair across his eyes and tastes of salt and freedom he isn't ready to swallow yet. And then there is Skylar. She appears one afternoon in a Harvard Library carrel, auburn hair falling over a thick organic chemistry textbook, chewing on the end of a pencil. Will is there only because Lambeau dragged him to campus for a meeting. Their eyes meet across the long oak table, and something electric passes between them, quiet but undeniable. Later that night at a dingy bar with peeling pool table felt, she beats him at pool while wearing his hoodie, laughing when he pretends to be annoyed. When she asks what he does, he lies smoothly, says he's a shepherd. She plays along, asks if the sheep miss him when he's gone. The air between them smells of spilled beer and possibility. They kiss for the first time outside in the cold, her back against brick, his hands framing her face so gently you can feel the tremble in his fingertips. She tastes like peppermint gum and courage. Personal reflection, breathed against your ear. When was the last time someone looked at you like you were already enough, exactly as you are, no degree, no resume, no armor required? Let that memory surface now, soft and warm, and rest inside it for a moment. Skylar is studying medicine, planning to move to Stanford. She asks Will to come with her, but every time she brings up the future, he changes the subject or makes a joke. Because love, to Will, has always meant abandonment. Every person who ever said "I love you" left or hurt him. So he keeps one foot out the door, even while he's learning the exact way her hair smells after rain, the way her laugh starts in her chest before it reaches her mouth. They spend nights in her dorm room, fairy lights strung across the ceiling casting gold across their skin, whispering secrets in the dark. She tells him about her father who died when she was 12, how she still keeps his old Harvard sweatshirt. He tells her almost nothing. When she finally says "I love you" one morning while sunlight stripes the bed, he freezes. The silence stretches until it feels like a canyon. He kisses her forehead and leaves before she wakes up fully. Meanwhile, the math sessions with Lambeau grow more intense. Will solves problems that will rewrite entire fields. But he does it with bored detachment, as if the numbers are toys he outgrew long ago. Lambeau lines up job offers from the NSA, from think tanks, from corporations that pay more in a month than Will's friends make in a year. Will burns every letter unopened. One evening, Lambeau finds him sitting on the steps of the math building, smoking, staring at nothing. Lambeau tries to push. "Do you know how many people would kill for your mind?" Will's answer is quiet lightning. I don't want to spend my life proving I'm smarter than people who already know they're dumber. The wind picks up again, rattling the last leaves from the trees. Winter is breathing down autumn's neck. Will is being pulled in 3 directions at once. Lambeau wants his brain, Skylar wants his heart, Sean wants his healing, and Will wants to disappear. But the disappearing is getting harder. Because every time Sean says, "It's not your fault," another brick falls from the wall. Every time Skylar looks at him like he is already home, the idea of leaving Boston starts to feel less like safety and more like cowardice. Let your breath, slow breath, carry you now. Feel the gentle weight of the blanket across your chest rising and falling like tide. You are safe. Will is not there yet, but he is walking toward it one terrified step at a time, and we are walking with him. The wind has turned colder now, slipping through the cracked window like a patient hand that knows exactly where every bruise is hidden. We are deep in the darkest part of the story, where everything that has been quietly breaking finally shatters wide open, and the only thing left to do is decide what to build from the pieces. It starts on a frozen pond in the Boston Public Garden just after Christmas. Sean and Will walk side by side, breath fogging in small white clouds, boots crunching on packed snow that squeaks under their weight. Sean is telling a story about his wife Nancy, how she used to fart in her sleep so loudly it woke the dog, how she once missed the greatest comeback in Red Sox history because she was in the bathroom, how he married her anyway because the first time she laughed at one of his jokes, he felt the floor drop out from under him. Will listens without interrupting, hands buried deep in the pockets of his army jacket. Sean stops walking, turns to him, voice low enough that the wind almost steals it. She was my everything, and then she was gone. And I thought that was the worst thing that could ever happen, until I realized the worst thing is never letting yourself have an everything in the first place. Will stares at the ice, jaw working. Sean continues, softer still. You're terrified of being left, so you leave first. That's not genius, kid. That's just scared. The silence afterward is so complete, you can hear the faint creak of tree branches overhead, bending under fresh snow. Personal reflection. Breathe gently against the shell of your ear. What is the thing you are most afraid of losing, and have you noticed that you sometimes push it away before anyone else can take it? Let that question rest on your chest for a moment, light as a single snowflake. Back in Sean's office a few days later, the radiator clanks like an old heartbeat. Will is pacing, agitated, talking fast about how Skylar wants him to move to California and how that's insane because he has a life here, friends here, a perfectly good job here. Sean listens, then asks the simplest question in the world. Do you love her? Will stops moving. The room holds its breath. Will's answer comes out strangled. I don't. I can't. Sean nods slow and tells him about the first time he saw Nancy across a crowded bar. He had Game 6 World Series tickets in his pocket, seats behind home plate, once in a lifetime. He gave them away to a stranger so he could buy her a drink instead. Sean's voice drops to the softest whisper yet. That's love, Will. When you realize you'd rather have one ordinary day with her than the greatest day in the world without her. Will's eyes fill. He tries to speak. Can't. Sean just waits, patient as winter. Trivia, tucked in like a warm secret. The pond scene was shot at 4 a.m. in minus 10-degree weather. Matt Damon's tears froze on his cheeks between takes, and Robin Williams kept hugging him between shots to keep him from shivering too hard to speak. That night, Will goes to Skylar's dorm. She opens the door in an oversized Harvard sweatshirt, eyes red from crying. He stands in the hallway smelling of cold air and desperation. She lets him in without a word. They sit on her narrow bed, fairy lights still strung above them like captured stars. She tells him she got accepted to Stanford Medical School. She tells him she loves him. She tells him she's leaving in June and she wants him to come with her. No pressure, no ultimatum, just the truth. Will's voice is raw. I can't. She asks why. He tries every defense he has. He has responsibilities. His friends need him. He's not good enough for her world. She'll get tired of him. Everyone leaves eventually. She listens, tears sliding silently down her cheeks, then says the sentence that finally breaks him open. I'm not asking you to be perfect, Will. I'm asking you to choose me. He stands up, shaking, tells her he has to go, and walks out into the snow without his jacket. The door closes behind him with the softest click, the sound of a heart choosing fear over love. Let your own heart slow now, slow like snow falling through streetlight. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest matching the hush of the city outside. You are safe here. Even the painful parts are being held so carefully. The next weeks are brutal. Will throws himself into construction work, swinging a hammer until his palms blister, drinking until the room spins, picking fights he used to walk away from. Chucky watches him unravel and says nothing, just hands him another beer. Lambo keeps pushing job interviews. The National Security Agency this time, a corner office, a salary that could buy his friends' houses. Will sits in a sterile conference room while men in suits talk about utilizing his gift for the greater good. He stares at the American flag in the corner and feels the walls closing in. When they ask where he sees himself in 10 years, he answers, dead, probably, and walks out. Sean finds him one night sitting alone on the harbor breakwater, legs dangling over black water that smells of diesel and salt. The city lights shimmer across the surface like scattered coins. Sean sits beside him without asking permission. For a long time, neither speaks. Finally, Sean says, voice rough with everything he's lost, "You think you're the only one who's scared? I wake up every morning and reach for her side of the bed. 25 years of marriage, and I still can't break the habit. But I get up anyway. Because staying in bed doesn't bring her back, and it doesn't honor the time we had." He turns to Will, eyes shining. "Your friends love you. That girl loves you. I see you, Will, all of you, and I'm still here. So what are you so afraid of that you'd rather burn everything down than let yourself be loved?" Personal reflection, whispered like a secret shared under blankets. When was the last time you pushed someone away because staying felt riskier than leaving? Can you feel, even a little, how much courage it actually takes to stay? Will doesn't answer. He just stares at the water until his fingers go numb from the cold. But something has shifted inside him, something irreversible, like the moment a river realizes it is no longer frozen. The breaking point comes in Sean's office one final time. Will is furious, shouting about how everyone wants a piece of him, how no one actually cares about him, only what he can do. Sean listens until the storm spends itself, then stands up slowly and walks to a painting on the wall. A small boat alone in a storm, sails torn, waves towering. He tells Will the story behind it, how he painted it the week Nancy was diagnosed, how he sat in the garage until dawn trying to get the water right because that was how his life felt. Then he turns, voice trembling with controlled anger and infinite tenderness, and says the words that will echo in Will's dreams forever. You're just a kid. You don't have to have it all figured out. But you don't get to sit there and tell me what love is when you've never stuck around long enough to find out. Real loss only happens when you love something more than you love yourself. Will tries one last defense. I don't love her. Sean's reply is immediate, soft, devastating. Then why are you still crying? Will breaks completely. Not loud, not dramatic. Just the quiet collapse of a boy who has finally run out of places to hide. Sean crosses the room and holds him again, tighter this time, rocking slightly the way you rock a child who has woken from the worst nightmare of his life. And for the first time since he was 6 years old, Will Hunting lets himself be held without fighting back. Outside, the snow has started to fall in earnest, fat, silent flakes that cover every scar the city has ever worn. You are almost asleep now, aren't you? Good. Let the snow cover you too. The hardest part is over. The light is coming. The wind has grown quieter now, almost reverent, as though the whole city of Boston is holding its breath with us. Snow is falling so softly that each flake seems to hesitate before it touches the ground, wanting to be part of the moment everything changes. It is early spring. The ice on the Charles River has cracked open into pale blue pieces that drift like broken mirrors. Will wakes up one morning in the small Southie apartment he shares with Chucky, sunlight slipping through the crooked blinds and landing across his face in gentle bars. For the first time in years, he does not reach for a cigarette the instant his eyes open. He simply lies there, listening to the faint sound of gulls outside and the slow, steady beat of his own heart. Something inside him has unclenched overnight. He showers, the water running warmer than usual, steam curling around his shoulders like forgiving arms. He dresses slowly. Clean jeans, a soft gray sweatshirt that still smells faintly of Skylar's perfume from the last time she wore it. He walks to the kitchen, pours coffee into a chipped Red Sox mug, and stands at the window watching the neighborhood wake up. Mrs. DiCamillo sweeping her stoop, the bakery on the corner opening its doors and releasing the smell of fresh bread into the cold air. Everything looks exactly the same as it did yesterday, yet everything is different, because Will has finally decided to stop running. He goes to Sean's office first. The door is open. Sean is at his desk, grading papers, red pen moving in small, tired circles. Will stands in the doorway for a long time before Sean notices him. When he does, he simply raises an eyebrow. Will steps inside, closes the door behind him with the softest click, and says the only words that matter, "I'm gonna go see about a girl." Sean's face breaks into the slowest, widest smile you have ever seen, eyes shining with tears he refuses to let fall. He stands, walks around the desk, and pulls Will into a hug so fierce it lifts the younger man off his feet for a second. They hold on longer than either of them expected, Sean's hand cradling the back of Will's head the way a father cradles a son who has finally come home from war. When they pull apart, Sean's voice is rough. "Go get her, kid." Will nods, unable to speak, and leaves without another word. The hallway smells of floor wax and possibility. Personal reflection, whispered like a lullaby. Have you ever had a morning when you woke up and realized the cage door had been open the whole time and all you had to do was walk through? Let that feeling settle in your chest now, warm and quiet. Next stop is the construction site. The crew is already there, radios playing classic rock, coffee steaming in the cold. Chucky is up on the scaffolding, cigarette dangling from his lips. Will climbs the ladder slowly, each rung creaking under his boots. When he reaches the top, Chucky turns, sees his face, and knows instantly. Will hands him an envelope. Inside is the deed to a small house Chucky has always joked about buying one day. Will's voice is steady. "I got a job in California. Starts next month. House is yours if you want it. I'm not coming back." Chucky stares at him, then at the envelope, then back at Will. His eyes fill. He tries to make a joke. "Who's gonna keep me from getting arrested now?" But his voice cracks halfway through. Will smiles. The first completely open smile we have ever seen on his face. Chucky drops the tough guy act, pulls Will into a crushing hug, pounding his back hard enough to rattle bones. Morgan and Billy climb up when they realize what's happening. There are no speeches, just four boys who grew up together holding on for dear life, tears freezing on their cheeks in the March wind. When they finally let go, Chucky wipes his face with the sleeve of his jacket and says, voice thick, "You better send pictures, you bastard." Will laughs, nods, and climbs down the ladder for the last time. He drives to Skylar's dorm in the beat-up Cadillac he has been slowly fixing all winter. The engine purrs now instead of coughing. He parks, walks up the familiar steps, heart hammering so loudly he is sure the whole building can hear it. He knocks. She opens the door wearing pajama bottoms and an old Stanford t-shirt, hair messy from sleep, eyes wary. For a moment they simply look at each other. Then Will says the words he has practiced in the mirror 100 times and still almost forgets. "I'm sorry. I was afraid. I thought if I loved you I'd lose you, so I left first. But I don't want to be that kid anymore. I want to go with you, if you'll still have me." Skylar's face goes through a dozen emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, anger, hope, love. She steps forward, touches his cheek to be sure he's real, then kisses him so softly it feels like forgiveness itself. When they pull apart, she whispers, "You came back." He answers, voice breaking, "I never really left." Trivia, breathed like a secret. Matt Damon wrote the final driving scene with no dialogue because he wanted the audience to feel the silence of someone finally at peace. The single tear that rolls down his cheek as he crosses the Massachusetts border was unscripted. He was thinking about his own grandmother who had just passed away. The last thing Will does before leaving Boston is stop by Sean's house. Sean is in the backyard raking the first brave crocuses that have pushed through the snow. Will walks up behind him, clears his throat. Sean turns, sees the duffel bag over Will's shoulder, and understands. They stand quietly for a moment. Two men who have given each other the greatest gift possible, permission to heal. Sean reaches into his pocket, pulls out a small silver key on a worn Red Sox keychain. "For the house in California," he says. "Nancy always wanted to see the Pacific." Will takes the key, fingers closing around it like it is made of light. They hug one more time, no words, just the sound of two hearts finally unafraid to beat out loud. Will gets back in the car. The tank is full. The back seat holds one small box of books, a photo of him and the boys at age 10, and the painting from Sean's office. The little boat in the storm, now safely wrapped in brown paper. He starts the engine, rolls the window down to feel the spring air on his face, and pulls away from the curb. The radio plays something gentle and hopeful. He drives west on the Massachusetts Turnpike, past the familiar signs, past the skyline shrinking in the rearview mirror, past every place that ever hurt him. The sun is setting behind him, painting the sky the color of Skylar's hair. For the first time in his life, Will Hunting is not running away from something. He is running toward it. And as the miles roll beneath the tires, he smiles, quiet and real and unafraid. You can feel it too, can't you? That soft loosening inside your own chest, as if someone just removed a stone you forgot you were carrying. Let it go now. Let the road take it. The wind has followed him all the way across the country. But it is warmer now, carrying the faint scent of eucalyptus and distant ocean, the kind of breeze that knows how to hold someone without ever tightening its grip. Somewhere in the California dusk, a little white Cadillac crosses the Bay Bridge toward Palo Alto, headlights cutting gentle tunnels through the violet evening. Will Hunting is almost home, and so, darling, are you. Let your whole body sink one last inch into the mattress, as though the bed itself is exhaling with relief. Feel the sheets cool against your ankles, the pillow cradling the exact curve of your neck, the quiet rise and fall of your chest, slowing, until it matches the rhythm of a car traveling at an easy 65 miles an hour down a highway lined with golden grass and promise. Every mile Will drives is a mile you are allowed to let go of tonight. Every fear he leaves behind in the rearview mirror is a fear you no longer have to carry. The road is wide, the sky is endless, and there is room for both of you to breathe. Personal reflection, softer than moonlight. When was the last time you let yourself believe that you deserve the thing you want most? Not because you earned it, not because you fixed yourself first, but simply because you are here, and you are loved exactly as you are right now, tonight, in this moment. Let that truth settle over you like the softest blanket ever woven. Trivia, whispered like a bedtime secret. The very last frame of the film, the one where the camera lingers on the empty road after Will's car disappears, was shot on Gus Van Sant's own childhood street in Oregon. He said he wanted the audience to feel that the story doesn't end when the credits roll. It begins. Just like your own story doesn't end when sleep finally takes you. It simply turns the page to a gentler chapter. Another gentle truth. Robin Williams kept the little painting of the boat in the storm. It hung above his desk for the rest of his life. He told Matt Damon once that every time he looked at it, he remembered that even the worst storms pass, and the bravest thing any of us ever do is keep rowing until we see land again. And now the wind outside your window has grown so quiet you can almost hear the stars. Will has reached Skylar's new apartment. The porch light is on. She is waiting. In a moment she will open the door, and he will step into the life he almost talked himself out of, and they will hold each other so tightly that every broken piece finally clicks back into place. You don't need to stay awake for that part. You already know how it feels, because somewhere inside you, something just clicked too. So let the last of the day slip away. Let the questions you still carry grow lighter and lighter until they are only feathers drifting on the breeze. You do not have to solve anything tonight. You do not have to prove anything tonight. You only have to rest the way Will finally rests when he lays his head on Skylar's shoulder and feels, for the first time in his entire life, that he is exactly where he is supposed to be. The wind is barely moving now, just a tender stroking across the curtains, in and out, matching the slow tide of your breathing. Somewhere far away, a little boat sails through calm water under a clear sky. Somewhere closer, a boy who used to think love was a trap is learning that love is actually the open road. And somewhere even closer than that, right here in this quiet room, you are loved exactly as fiercely, exactly as gently. It's not your fault. You are enough. You are allowed to go see about your own girl, your own dream, your own Pacific Ocean, whenever you are ready. And until then, you are allowed to sleep. Good night, darling. The wind will keep watch. The road will still be there when you wake.